Welcome, friends and family, ladies and germs, people of all ages, learners of all ages. Welcome to the show, of course, Living the Curious Life, a podcast about education, learning, experience. For those of us playing at home, I have a decorative fountain just off just off screen. Um, Let me know if that's too loud. I don't think it is, but it seems loud to me. Um, Living the Curious Life. Living the Curious Life. That's the name of the program. What does that mean? It means asking questions, seeking answers through projects, through experiences, actively seeking experience and enrichment, and all the stuff that goes into that. That's what the program is about. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about several bits and pieces, several small bits and pieces, including some questions for the audience and some philosophy and some other things. As some of you may know, I presume a lot of you do know, as always, we're going to begin with sort of a recapitulation of what's going on in class. As you know, for those of us playing at home, I am a educator by trade, a facilitator of learning by profession. And I like to like to keep us apprised of what's going on in class. We had a major breakthrough today. I had a major breakthrough. I say we. I had a major breakthrough today. Um, we've been working on, in totality, all of my classes have been working on the Factorio project. The Factorio project is a project by which we are building the same things, following the same tech tree as the video game Factorio. It's a great game. Check it out. That first phase, the first technology level of the project, in the beginning of the game, you're building inserters, which are robotic arms. You're building mining drills to mine raw materials. You are building conveyor belts to move things from one place to the other. Boilers, steam engines, that kind of thing. And we tried to do that. Everybody had a thing that they were going to build, and I just don't think it was very good. Not that the builds weren't very good, I think my facilitation was poor, and so we're going to talk about that. Why do I think it was poor? I don't think it was clear why we were doing it, or maybe it is really unclear why why I wasn't feeling it. There was a lot of issues going on. I teach, of course, engineering science and computer integrated manufacturing. Two courses where knowing how to build things and put systems together is very important. And building a factory is the ultimate goal of the manufacturing course. So Factorio made a lot of sense to go that route. So we had this first project where everybody was building a thing for the factory, and I just think it was too big. That's what I think. I think the expectations I had, or rather the expectations that I facilitated, the expectations that I put on them was a lot smaller than the build actually was. The build was bigger and more complex than I led them to believe, and I believe that was a failure on my part. But what have we done differently? What are we going to do differently? Well, I've decided that we are all going to build the same thing. What do I mean by that? I mean we're not all going to build a steam engine. Instead, as a whole class, we are going to build one steam engine. And we are going to split into teams, and those teams are going to build different assemblies that go into the overall steam engine build. I believe that's a better approach to this project. It's going to give us a chance to unravel some of the issues we've been having with planning and writing and ideating and things like that. I think it's going to be a great idea. We had done a reflection. My students had done a reflection, and I saw a lot of things in the reflection. Nothing specific to share, except for a lot of the preliminary documentation that we do before we start a major project. They needed work on, and they admitted as much. And so we're going to take this opportunity to reset or refocus and do one project, focus on one thing, and focus on all that preliminary work. I think so. We're going to build a steam engine. So this is the steam engine build, and that's the class build that we're working on right now. So mark your calendars or whatever you do. Ohm is here in the chat. He took a look at it. He put his stamp of approval on it, and so we're going to go ahead with that. I of course treasure Ohm's opinion, and he understands the game and what we're trying to do and my philosophy, and so I appreciate his feedback on that. What's been going on in class? That's what's been going on in class. We are doing the steam engine build, and we are going to build it in parts and pieces. Wonderful, wonderful news, and stay tuned for more updates on that. Let's move on. Personal project update. Last time we spoke, we talked about the 8 personal projects that I'm currently involved in, that I'm currently undertaking. Not many of those things have changed. I'm still manufacturing the boxes for the board games project, and there is one of the parts of that is to engrave the tops with the name and where it says prototype edition and where it says my name. And I bought a new engraving bit for the CNC machine, so that we will get into there shortly. However, the computer at school, the school computer that I had the program on for the top that I was going to engrave, I somehow deleted the operating system. I don't know how I did that. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how. I can't really undo it. It's gone. The hard drive is corrupted, and the operating system was deleted. So I'm gonna have to remodel that part, which I can do. It's not that big a deal, but I'm gonna have to remodel that part, and then we can get back into cutting those box tops. In the meantime, none of the other 8 projects have really altered much. The adventure racing project, I've got new boots. My other ones fell apart, and that's the 3rd time they've fallen apart, so I think it's time to give up on them. I bought these black boots that are purported to be bulletproof. I don't know why you would need that, probably for stepping on, sharp rocks and things like that. But they're quite comfortable. I still have them. I haven't taken them off yet. They're quite comfortable, and I think I saw some reviews that said that people feel comfortable running in these on rough terrain. So I think they're going to be really good for adventure racing. So I'm quite happy with that. I've also got 3 more water bladders for the adventure racing expedition. I think next week we're going to go on an expedition. Next weekend we're going to go on an expedition. Try to walk to my parents' house, which I've tried to do before. It's about 13 miles, 14 miles. Let's kind of, those of us just joining us may be wondering what I'm talking about. Adventure racing is one of our projects, the Adventure Racing Project, where I am trying to compete in a multi-sport endurance race called an adventure race. And so we need to be fairly good at walking long distances. So we're building up to that. So these boots and those water bottles will help us, for sure. I wanted to take this opportunity, though, to talk about the meta projects. We have 8 personal projects, which are, I regret to say, frivolous, but they are for personal enrichment. We're going to talk about autodidacticism shortly here, but they are for my own personal edification, an expansion of my own learning. Okay, living the curious life. This is how we do that through projects. But we also have many projects that we work on all the time, right? The meta projects. There is no really end in sight. We just simply keep doing updates and changes and things like that because they're much bigger than these personal projects. What are the meta projects? Well, they are in the description of the Twitch channel, and I'm going to recapitulate them here. The nutrition project, we treat nutrition like a project around here because making sure that we're getting our vitamins and our bits and pieces and things like that is always important to me. The stream project, the TV show, originally the TV show project, has turned into, it's the show, right? It's the show that you're watching right now. We're going to keep working on that. We treat it like a project because there's a lot of learning involved in it, so we keep that in mind. The shop infrastructure project, for those of us who have seen, at school we have a very large workshop that I maintain and buy stuff for and do infrastructure for. So there's always improvements happening to that space, that maker space. That's a project we're always working on that doesn't really have an end. Lastly, the Velma project. Now, Velma is the one I wanted to talk about because it's the one that I've been having the most trouble with. I was talking about in the pre-show. I've been having a lot of trouble with the Velma project. What is the Velma project? Velma stands for Virtual Experiential Learning Library and Media Archive. It will eventually be an artificial intelligence research management system that will live on a central local server. And it's designed, the pie in the sky design of Velma is that it would contain, the wealth of human experience, right? So that whenever we have a question about something, whenever we have need to knows, whenever we're curious about something, whenever we want to see something, watch something, play something, do something, have an experience, Velma will help us do that. We type what we want in, and it pops up. That's one of the main problems I'm having right now, and so we will talk more about that shortly. As a matter of fact, the curious thing that I have to show you for that segment later on is part of that build. But those are the meta projects, things we're always working on, things that we can't really, yes, Scorpion, exactly, kind of like Jarvis from Marvel. Part of it, sure, but it will really just be a content delivery system. It's called I guess it's called a server, and I was thinking about this on the way home. I guess it's called a server because it literally just serves up stuff. I don't know, maybe I made that up, but that sounds right to me. If Catholic Nutritionalist is there in the background, maybe he can correct me. But that being said, the Velma project is something I'm always working on because I believe in the free exchange of information. I believe in when we are around to learn things, when we are trying to learn things, there should be as few barriers as possible between the learner and the learning. And I believe that means that we need to have free access to a wealth of information, a robust library full of good stuff for everybody to peruse and browse and watch and play and see and read at their leisure. And so that's what Velma is for. I don't think I've missed any other meta projects. That seems to be it. So we have our 8 projects. We have our 4 meta projects. And we, of course, have our goals, our 8 goals, which we talked about, my 8 goals. I say we often when I mean me, and that's just simply the way I am. That's the way I talk. But we have our 8 goals, our 8 main goals that we talked about last week. Those are still the same. Those have not changed. Any shop or academy updates? Last week, I did not get the chance to talk about our new CNC machine. I teach a course called Computer Integrated Manufacturing. And we use a Haas education format, education size mini milling machine, which is $20,000, so it's not that mini. In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty small, but it's compared to from nothing to that, yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, we've also bought a very small milling machine, which we have looked at in the classroom a few weeks ago. And in the meantime, I've also bought a large format wooden frame router, CNC router kit that I've put together and tested and everything like that. Like I said, the software that I was running and the programs that I was running on it were wiped whenever I deleted that operating system by accident. So I'm gonna have to sort of get that back running. But it's kind of interesting. Basically, what it does is it's got X, Y, and Z coordinates. You tell it where to go and when to go there, and how deep to go and how fast to spin, and it carves what you want it to carve according to that program. And so you can have it write things. And I've actually put a video on the YouTube channel, a small video, where it carves the words "always be making," right, as one of my mottos, my main motto. Um, so that's definitely a shop update. Speaking of the Academy update, we had a request from Emily in the Discord at one point to do an updated, take some pictures really of the Academy. By the way, for those of us playing at home, the Academy that I talk about often is a community resource center where people go to learn anything they want to learn. And I've actually built a facsimile of that Academy idea in my head in Minecraft, right? And so it's got all the rooms, it's got the different things and things like that. So in an effort to fulfill that request from Emily to take pictures, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a tour instead, a virtual tour. And so in doing that, I actually took it upon myself to. I've been playing some more and making some more improvements and doing things like putting in waterfalls and doing some cool bits and pieces, fixing some things that were bothering me before and things like that. So Academy updates. Be on the lookout for a video tour of our Academy. When I talk about the Academy, I'm talking about this community resource center, my school, my academy, my center, my complex, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm talking about. In my head, when I'm visualizing the Academy, I'm visualizing this Academy that we've built in Minecraft. Well, more on that later. Philosophy question number 1. Let's have a philosophy question for those of us in chat. Why is diversity important? Why is diversity important? I didn't have time to build cards to put on the screen, but we'll have to live with ourselves. Why is diversity important? Very important question. I say often, longtime viewers of the program will know that I say often that the more varied and more different users that we have, and more varied and different, diverse members of the community I have, the stronger the community can be. The more perspectives we have, the more important work we can do, the more meaningful work we can do. And why do I think that? Why do I believe that? Before I answer what I think, let's take it to the chat. Let's take it to the folks at home. Let's take it to the audience. Why is diversity important? Let's think. While I take a sip of drink. Why is diversity important? Well, my answer, of course, is that the more Ohm says diversity is important because it allows many perspectives to be seen and heard. I agree with Ohm. Diversity is important because it allows many perspectives to be seen and heard. Why is that virtuous? Why is that virtuous? Because if I believe in learning for everybody, if I believe in the free exchange of information, if I believe in everyone being able to learn everything that they want to learn, however they please, then then that's everybody, right? The most diverse group of people, everyone, right? That includes everybody, right? So that's why I believe it's virtuous, and that's why I believe because the more perspectives we have, we eventually want the community to contain everyone, right? If that's not the goal, then why are we here, right? We want the community to include everyone, a global learning community, right? So everybody's invited, everybody's welcome, and the more people see other people like them, that might help bring more people into the fold. If we have more different and varied and diverse people, we will understand more about different perspectives because they will be sharing ideas. And we understand that different people have different ideas and everybody's different, diverse ideas. Ohm says it allows for people to be more open-minded. I think it facilitates people to be more open-minded. It makes it easier for people to be more open-minded. For sure. Absolutely. Let's take a quick look here at the community and see if we see anything to share from the community showcase. I feel questioning about whether to because I said last week, but there are people not who didn't watch last week, but there are definitely some bits here in the Discord if you're interested. I did say last week that anything in the projects tab on Discord is fair game to show on the stream, and I want to do that. However, I did not announce it to everybody, so it's possible that I did not announce that in the Discord, which means that I still don't think it's fair. But I'll go through whenever we do that. I'll go through. I'm going to ask people if it's okay for us to share things on the stream. Got some great bits in here from Emily with some Minecraft in here, some pictures of Catholic traditionalists' son with a lightsaber build of his own, and then Mofalo, of course, with his new podcast that he has been working on for a little while now. And I want to make sure that we give those proper recognition. I want to make sure that we give those proper due. And we will do so after I'm able to clear with him that it's okay to share it. I did say it last week, but I just want to clarify. I just want to confirm that that's okay. So I won't show it up right now today, but in the future we will begin to share things. I'll say it again. If it's in the projects tab, it's fair game to share on the stream. I didn't get a chance to announce it, so we'll come back to that. All right, let's take a quick break. Questions from the audience. This is a question break. Anything anybody in the audience wants to ask, they are free to ask at this time, and we will oblige them with some discussion. Questions from the audience about anything that we've discussed, about anything that we will discuss, about anything about our philosophies, about our mission statement, about why we do things, about learning, about education, about centralization, about the world, about the games at play. Opening it up for education, Opening it up for questions from the chat. Questions from the audience. Questions from the audience. Questions from the audience. Give everybody a minute or two to catch up. Take this opportunity to meditate a little bit if you're watching along at home on the YouTube channel. If you're there at the YouTube channel, welcome. Hope you stick around. Join us for the live stream on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Graham Warden. That is my name, after all. Questions from the audience. I had no questions from the YouTube channel VOD from last week. We had 18 views, but which is not bad in the grand scheme of things. And I hope to have even more on this episode, and I hope that we see some momentum and see some growth. But it doesn't look like I have any questions from the audience, so I will move on. I will move on unless there are questions to answer. Take some deep breaths, meditate. Let's take this opportunity to have another philosophy question. Can an idea have merit and not be virtuous? Can an idea have merit and not be virtuous? So I use the word virtuous a lot. It's just part of my vernacular when we talk about these ideas, centralization, education, that kind of thing. What do I mean when I say something is virtuous? I mean that we should want to do it. I believe that we should want to do this thing. The topical example, of course, is wearing the face mask in public, right? Because of COVID-19. Do I think that government should have the right to mandate that we have to wear a mask? No, I don't. Because that would be draconian. That would be state-run. It's a bad idea. However, I think that you should want to do it because it's simply better for everybody. Those two things are not the same. But when I say something, it is virtuous to wear the mask. You should want to do it. That's what I mean by virtuous. So can an idea have merit and not be virtuous? Can an idea have merit? So what do we mean by merit? So can this be a good idea, but I personally say I don't think you should want to do that, or rather the opposite, I don't care one way or the other. Can an idea be a good idea and not be virtuous? Yeah, I think so. I believe so. We'll take it to the audience, of course. Anybody in the audience welcome to answer, but I believe that I believe that there are good ideas out there that I don't necessarily think somebody should want to do, or rather, I have no opinion one way or the other. All right? For me, when I say something's virtuous, that is a statement of... It's not a statement of fact, it's a statement of something I believe. I believe this. When I say something is virtuous, what I'm really doing is saying, I believe something. I believe this, this, and this. I believe this is virtuous. So can an idea in a vacuum be virtuous? I don't think so. I think when you say something is virtuous, I think it's a person. That's an opinion on me. That's a belief on my part. Right? When I say something is virtuous, I'm saying you should want to do this. That's a belief that I have to justify. And in fact, because it's a belief that I have to justify, that means the burden of proof for that belief is on me. Can an idea be good absent of that? Yes, of course. Can an idea be good and be non-virtuous? Can an idea be good, but I actively believe that one should not want to do this thing. Let's try to think of an example. Let's try to think of an example. I believe Catholic traditionalists had some examples. Let's take a look real quick. Let's take a look in there and see what he has to say. Let's do this. This is Catholic traditionalist sharing, and I'm gonna read this. I hope he's okay with that. Consider someone performing a valuable community service. Does that service have merit? Question mark. Depends. Is the individual performing the service Is the individual virtuous for serving the community? What if the individual performing the community service is compelled to do so by a municipal court order? Does that change the merit of the service itself? Does it change whether or not there is virtue exhibited by the individual performing the service? I think, Scorpion, you're right. Scorpion says in the chat, it depends on what you think good is. You're absolutely right. 100%. Right? And if it depends, then the definition of virtuous depends on what you believe. I don't think virtue is objective. And for those of us playing at home, I am reading from the Discord. If you do exclamation point Discord, I think it should put the Discord in there. If you could help out in the chat, that would be nice. I don't think virtue is objective. I think that there are certain. I think if we think that virtue is objective, I think we might be. I think that might be a red herring. I think that might. I don't know if that makes any sense. But who am I to say what people should and shouldn't believe? I just work here. I think what is and isn't virtuous is personal. It's what you. I think it has to do with what you believe. Is virtue objective? I don't think so. I don't think so, but maybe there's a better word for that. Unclear. Can we have good ideas that are not virtuous? I don't know. I was trying to think of an example. I think any example that I can come up with would be basically some sort of freak accident. Like somebody's doing a bad thing, but I think outcomes can have merit. What a strange question. What do you guys think in the chat? I'm thinking if somebody was drunk driving or something like that, and I was thinking, I had this thought of like a building was on fire and a drunk driver hits a fire hydrant and the water goes on the building and puts it out. Should we want to put the fire out? Yes, of course. It would be virtuous to do so. But of course, I don't know. That's kind of a silly scenario. Scorpion in the chat says, if you wanted to go to Mars but had to do something bad to get there, is going to Mars virtuous? Questionable. Is having new experiences virtuous? I think so. It's the ultimate new experience, isn't it? Maybe it is virtuous. Not sure. Not sure. What do you guys think? Maybe because like Earth was dying and could only take 50% of people. So there was a fight to the death and only the 50 people who were left could get to go. Well, I'm not sure. I'm actually having a hard time coming up with a good answer to this question. I'm having a hard time coming up with a good answer for this question. Something we're going to have to think about. You know what? Why don't we come back to this next week? Next week we'll start with this as philosophy question 1, and we will see if I have any more thoughts on this for sure. I suggest everybody at home do the same. Organize your thoughts. We'll meet back next week and discuss. Let's move forward with it all depends on the situation. I think you're right. I've got a bit of curious news here on the page for you. Let me see. Let me make sure that I can get a hold of this news story. Make sure I don't misrepresent any of the facts. Let's see what's going on here. I get this news from various places. Comes from various things. So this news comes from the. This news comes from the Good News Network, where the good news happens, or whatever. I don't know if that's their tagline, but the Good News Network, which I appreciate. I appreciate services that focus on good news, and so I tend to follow those sources. So this is a news story. Tennessee high school students collect 10,000 face masks for those in need, sharing advice for other youth. A group of Tennessee high school students, led by Ben Beard, set out to make a difference during the COVID-19 crisis by collecting over 10,000 masks for anyone who can't afford to buy them. Beard and Ty Anderson, like so many of their classmates who were making college plans, had their lives turned upside down when COVID struck their city of Nashville. We were all working hard on our academics, looking for ways to volunteer in our communities, and have well-rounded college resumes. Then everything came to a halt. I was thinking about this. This is a bit of curious news. Why? Why is it a bit of curious news? Because, as I've spoken of before, when we talk about education, we talk about Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a listing of verbs, and those verbs represent sort of different levels of education, different levels of learning that happen. And those things range from something like rote memorization at the very low end to something like synthesis and creation on the very high end. Now, I personally, as an educator, posit that there's actually another level beyond that has to do with helping the community, building things, creating things for other people, doing things for other people. And so this bit of news here about these Tennessee high school students is excellent. An excellent showing from young people. I believe that young people. I believe that young people get a bad rap. I believe that teenagers get a bad reputation, and I think that a lot of that comes from the people making the news stories. And so I appreciate good news like this coming out, so I can brag on them, right? And we always try to push our own students to do things like this. A wonderful bit of curious news. Let's see. The word of the day. Ready? The word of the day. The word of the day is autodidacticism. Let's find a proper definition for that word. Autodidacticism. Autodidacticism is self-education or self-directed learning, right? Self. An autodidact, also known as an automath, is a mostly self-taught person, typically someone who has an enthusiasm for self-education and a high degree of self-motivation. I think those of us who believe in living the curious life are, by definition, according to this definition, autodidacts, right? We believe in autodidacticism. We believe in self-education, self-improvement through education, self-improvement through learning, and that's why it is the word of the day. There have been many, many people in history that I would qualify as autodidacts. I think Ben Franklin, for example, and there's somebody who Catholic traditionalist says a lot, and I'm going to see if I can find his name. I saw a story, the last man to have known everything. Yeah, the last man to know everything. Thomas Young. Thomas Young would be sort of the quintessential autodidact in my mind. Um, because and what I mean by know everything, where there was a lot less stuff to know back then in the 1700s and 1770, 1790 or whatever, um, and there are many other men and women like him in history and like us, people in history who have lived the curious life. You know what? That's not a bad idea for a segment of autodidacts in history. Might put that down in the notes. What do you guys think about that? Adding a new segment, autodidacts in history. Readings and recommendations. Sorry, I was looking at something. Readings and recommendations. I've got a book here. I don't have it with me. I have it on a digital copy. But this is what I'm recommending for the folks at home. There's a book that I've been reading called The Homework Myth by Alfie Kahn. The homework myth goes into why we have homework, what is it for, why do we have it, and why it's not good for anything. And there was a bit from that book that I wanted to share with everybody that I agree with. The thesis statement of the book is that homework has no real purpose. It never has. And there's a part in the book where it explains if homework doesn't have a purpose, why do people think it does? When asked why students should have homework, what do parents say? What do adults say? And the part in the book that I wanted to talk about was it was this part. A lot of adults said that it keeps them out of trouble, that it keeps them busy. And I can't help but think to myself, that's a terrible reason. That's a terrible reason to do anything. Definitely a terrible reason to spend what little free time we have doing more schoolwork for no reason. If you don't believe in the assignment, if you don't believe in the learning, why would you want to keep working on it? I understand why students don't want to do homework. It sucks. I understand why students don't want to do homework. It's if they if students don't want to do homework, it's because they don't believe in the learning. They don't believe in the assignment. It doesn't have any verisimilitude. Last week, it doesn't hold any place in reality. There's no authenticity. It holds no real place in reality. It's simply this amorphous nothing that the way we get kids to do homework is to make the learning authentic, make it real, make it worth doing, make it so they want to do it, right? How do you do that? Well, you make the projects authentic, you make them feel real, and you make sure that students are having a good time. If they're having a good time, learning should be fun. Learning is fun. It's why I do it. It's why it's my passion in life. It's why I think it's why I think that it's why I think learning is virtuous, right? To go back to a previous segment. So, my reading and recommendation for this week is The Homework Myth by Alfie Kahn. Alfie Kahn is a well-renowned parenting and education expert, and I recommend that book. That's my recommendation for this week. Let's continue with the positive affirmations for the week. Every week I write down a few things that are positive that I want to remember and that I want to remember for next week and throughout this week. And so I'm going to go through that right now. My new boots are quite nice. I quite appreciate my new boots. They are tall and black and great. The weather is cool. For October in Texas, the weather is quite cool. And it's going to continue to be that way. I think the weather is quite nice, and I appreciate that. The show last week was an hour long. It was a little bit over an hour, and we've got 18 views on it. At the time of this recording, let's take a look here. At the time of this recording, let's see where we're at. But we've had a very nice response from the people who've watched it and the people who have seen it. And when I say nice response, what I really mean is I've seen good numbers on it. 19 views for a 1 hour video is really good, right? When we think about YouTube videos and the algorithm and stuff like that, yeah, some of our videos have 50 views, 40 views, 30 views, and stuff like that, which is really not anything in the grand scheme of things. They're dropping the bucket in the grand scheme of things. But for us, for me, for a new series, and we're going to continue to put out new episodes of this show, 19 views is going to be a good start, and we're going to continue to gain momentum. And that was 3 days ago. 19 views in 3 days on a 1 hour video. Excellent. And we are going to continue to hope. We're going to hope that that growth continues to happen. So I appreciate that. That's a good thing to remember. That's a positive affirmation. And unfortunately, I only had the three things because I was having a hard time coming up with anything else. But it is what it is. I threatened at the beginning that we were going to talk more about Velma, and so this is what we're going to do right now. So here's a curious thing. For those of us who don't know a lot about computers, this is a computer card. Oops, sorry. This goes in one of the ports on a motherboard. The board that kind of controls where the electrical signals go in a computer. And this is a board. This is a PCI board, I guess, that goes on the motherboard. And what is this? This is a RAID controller. And what does this have to do with development? Let me tell you. One of the ways that computers gain storage is through hard drives, right? You put hard drives in a computer, and you have to connect those hard drives to something, and you connect those hard drives to the motherboard via a port called a SATA port. SATA port has basically got this L-shaped connector. I know you can't see that if you're watching live at home, but it's basically a long rectangular port with a weird L-shaped connector inside it. And the SATA ports is how data is transferred. It's one of the ways that data is transferred in a computer. And it's very important for the Velma project to have many, many hard drives, right? We imagine this, we understand this. This is going to go in a new computer that I'm currently building. I've got some extra computers over here that I don't need that I'm going to turn into a RAID machine. This is a RAID controller. What does RAID mean? RAID stands for redundant. No, I don't remember. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not building a RAID machine. I'm building a NAS, a NAS machine. Sorry. But this RAID controller has 8 additional SATA ports, 8 additional data ports to put in a computer. What I'm building is a NAS machine. A NAS is a network. Oh, geez. Okay, I'm going to have to look it up. A NAS. Network area storage. Network attached storage. A NAS is a computer with many hard drives in it that you can access from anywhere, from any machine that's connected to your network. So I'm going to put Velma in a NAS so I can access it from anywhere. And it will allow me to put this card inside and be able to hold up to 12 hard drives, which is probably the most that I can get into a regular case. So this is a curious thing. I appreciate curious things. For those of us who don't know about computers or how computers work, this is one of the ways that data gets into and out of a computer via SATA ports, and this board has many of them. So I felt that was a curious thing I wanted to share. Philosophy question 3. This is going to be a quick one because we've talked about it before. In fact, there's a video from the very, very early days of the live stream back in April. Why is school a poor place for learning? Why is school a poor place for learning? And I've talked about this before because it has to do with funding, has to do with politics, has to do with centralization. Why is school a poor place for learning? Because of centralization. Because of standardization. Centralization leads to standardization. Standardization leads to status quo, right? Standardization means that people who graduate know this much and can do these things. Those people graduate and provide labor for the corporations. Those corporations provide money to the politicians. Those politicians those politicians give money to the schools to maintain the status quo, to maintain that cycle. Why is school a poor place to learn? Because learning isn't the goal. Perpetuating the status quo is the goal. If learning was the goal of schools, then our schools wouldn't look the same as they did for, 200 years ago. We need to make school about learning because school isn't for learning. That's why. If school was about learning, we would have evolved past this. Schools look basically the same as they have 200 years ago, right? Which means it doesn't seem like we're learning very much, and clearly from looking at the people around us and the situation we're in right now, education is not really America's top priority, nor is it evident that many of us are educated or know how to learn. Many of us don't know how to learn. So why is school a poor place for learning? It does not prepare us to learn on our own. It does not prepare us to keep learning beyond graduation. It's ultimately why the show's here, right? Ultimately why we're here. Continuing education, living the curious life. Let's restate the goals before we go. If you can please put the mission statement in the chat so we can read it together. Recall our goals in life, our goals with this channel, our goals with this show is to be champions for education, be champions for learning, be champions for experiential learning, free education for all, free learning for all. We believe in decentralized education and experiential learning. This means that we believe centralized power structures are oppressive and no learning can take place under oppressive power structures. We believe learning takes place experientially through doing, and the point of this channel is to discuss and demonstrate decentralized education and how that might work in everyday life. Champions for learning. Champions for what I consider to be good, capital G good. Champions for truth, capital T truth. Understanding, meaning. I want to be somebody who people look to be a champion for learning. That's our goal. Last but not least, we want to sign off and tell us about where else to find us. We're editing this stream down to about an hour, and we're putting it in on the YouTube channel. Graham Warden, it's my name. That's where you'd find it. This is happening live on twitch.tv/Graham Warden, it's my name. And we are going to, at some point, I'm going to upload these audio only to SoundCloud or Spotify, something like that, to make sure that it's discoverable in many different ways and formats and things like that. Other than that, I'm not sure there's anything else to say. Are there any closing words from the chat? Emily says, can I post a Minecraft learning thing in the Discord? Of course. If there are no last-minute pieces of business, if there is no last-minute points of order, if there is nothing else about the show, about what's happened so far, about the program that's preceded this conversation, I believe it's time to sign off and say so long, farewell. any last words from chat? Let's see. Goodbye, Om. I appreciate you being here. Emily, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody being in chat. I appreciate everybody being here and hanging out and being part of the audience at home. I really appreciated the program. I like the program format still. I have not gotten over it yet. I appreciate it moves at a decent clip, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate everybody watching along at home. Those 19 viewers on YouTube, I appreciate you as well. Leave a comment, ask a question. We're all in this together. We all want to be champions for learning. We all want to be people that care about learning and care about education. So ask questions, share thoughts, share ideas in the Discord with us. And in the YouTube comments, of course. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great day, has a great week. I will see everybody next week, same time, same place, same bat time, same bat channel. Good night and good news. So long.